In the inauguration, you have two lines of succession, one for the Barack Obama administration, which is still in place, and one which really won't be in place until Donald Trump is inaugurated, comes into office, and actually formally nominates, and the Senate confirms his people. You might actually end up with a president from the prior administration because of a tragedy.
Adding to the confusion, by noon Friday, all of Obama's cabinet secretaries are expected to resign. John Kerry, the current Secretary of State, would be the first cabinet secretary in the line of succession, but he's out of office by noon. Donald Trump's pick for Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, may not be confirmed for another week or two. So who would be Secretary of State on Friday afternoon? According to State Department sources, the job would fall to the highest-ranking non-political official in the department, the Undersecretary for Political Affairs, Tom Shannon.
One of the most obscure possibilities is that someone who is an acting Secretary of State, someone lower down the line of the Secretary of State, State Department today, assumes the acting Secretary of State position, is in the line, and the worst happens, and that person becomes president, at least for a while.
Well, there isn't just evil in this world, and you are seeing the sleeping giant that is the American Republic rising again like the mythical phoenix from the ashes. This will be a day long remembered. We are sending the collapse of the globalist program all over the planet. Here we are live from Washington, D.C. We're right out the window from our humble studios here. I can see the Washington Monument. And in fact, it'll be tomorrow that Donald Trump is going to come right down the road and go to the nation's capital to be sworn in as the 45th president of the United States. Now, I don't want to sit here on the show every segment and say, see, I told you so over and over again, but I've warned everybody, if they were going to try to take the president out, they would use COG. And when we come back from break, we have CNN reports and others licking their lips, promoting the idea, normalizing the idea that if Trump gets assassinated or if Trump gets removed because he's a Ruski agent, Obama will appoint the new president. So they're selling that idea right now. And it's very interesting that you're seeing a bunch of Democrats not show up to this, and you're seeing John Kerry not show up. If a nuclear weapon goes off, big one, small one, so-called improvised, one cooked up by jihadis, if a nuke goes off, you can 100% know it was the criminal elements that have infiltrated the deep state, the shadow government. We set up a shadow government after the atomic bomb was created under mutually assured destruction, or under really the Mexican standoff that nuclear weapons created, where that if the government got knocked out in a sneak attack, there would be a backup emergency government to reconstitute the republic. The problem is anything like that can always be used to take the government over. An example is Operation Valkyrie, using the Valkyrie system that Hitler set up for COG. They tried to use it against him. And I'm not saying Hitler's good. The point is you can see how this can be used here, either for good or bad. This is how they will go at them. It was declassified back in the 80s that some people looked at overthrowing Reagan using COG. So we know that COG has been looked at as the prime way to overthrow a president. And sure enough, here it is, the day before the inauguration, they're floating. And I said, first they'll say he's a Russian agent. Then they'll say he's illegitimate. Then they'll say that we've got to have a civil emergency and suspend the election and have new elections. Once they start talking about that, they'll want to federalize the election so that the, quote, feds, the people Obama controls, the globalist control, will oversee the election. Boom, 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 boom. Every bit I told you has now happened. Now, they're going up against a rock and a hard place. They're going uphill because most of the intelligence agencies are awake. Most of the military is awake. The American people are somewhat awake. So if they do this, they're doing it at high noon with their goods hanging out, okay? And their big, fat, ugly butts hanging out. So we need to let them know we're watching you. We're aware of you. We see you, so they do not pull it off. But let me tell you something. It's very worrisome that we now have 50-something members of Congress that aren't going to be at this thing. And I'm sitting here just a few hundred yards from the Capitol. It is very, very worrisome that they're all openly talking about Trump dying tomorrow, and how Obama will just install someone new and it's completely normal and no big deal because he hasn't gotten any of his committee people, any of his cabinet people approved yet. So sorry, the Trump administration never existed. It's going to have to be people Obama appoints. And it turns out Obama has people designated waiting at a facility outside of the District of Columbia at Site R out in Maryland, and then also out in Colorado Springs. They've got the new government just waiting. It hadn't even been activated in a long time, but magically for this inauguration, it's been activated and the people are in the bunkers. Oh, is this a little bit suspicious? You'd have to be insane as a COG historian like I am to not understand this is dangerous. So again, I told you, COG, 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 COG is the way they're going to go. I'm not saying they're going to pull it off tomorrow, but they're sure thinking about it. This is so historic on every front. And the corporate dinosaur media keeps trying to say it's not historic that Trump was elected when it is completely historic. It was historic in a very negative way that the establishment, by the time Kennedy was assassinated, began to install presidents that they controlled. To a certain extent, Reagan tried to be his own president, and so they attempted assassination on him and pretty much got control of him from that point on. Then with George Herbert Walker Bush and his protege, Bill Clinton, and then his son, and then Obama, we have had 30 years of an intelligence agency coup d'etat in this country. Rex 84 was declassified in congressional hearings, parts of it, in the late 1980s during the Iran-Contra investigation. And it was discovered under Rex 84, Operation Cable Splicer, Operation Garden Plot, and others, that there were COG plans being hatched by George Herbert Walker Bush on basically overthrowing the government using continuity of government systems, or COG. It had actually been L.L. Lemnitzer in 1962, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that had proposed the plan to John F. Kennedy, a plan to stage terror attacks in America, blame it on Russia, and start a nuclear war. Kennedy discovered the plan, fired Lemnitzer, but Lemnitzer had stay-behinds in the Pentagon who became the corporate officers over two people, Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney. So they sat at the feet of individuals, and their names were on reports that even came out in the 1980s, that in the mid-60s and 70s, they were inside the Pentagon and inside the Gerald Ford administration, cooking up and selling the plan of COG takeovers using continuity of government emergency. So this group of neocons is obsessed with this, and they understand that Hitler was almost taken out using a similar COG system, Valkyrie. The reason I've obsessed over COG is because when you hear them start talking about it and you hear them start selling it to the public, that means they're preparing the mind. They're preparing the soil of the brain so that these seeds will sprout. And so we just think it's normal if there's a terror attack taking out Donald Trump tomorrow, or taking out Donald Trump in Congress maybe at his first State of the Union in a year. And then, oh, now there's a new COG made up of career bureaucrats and others waiting to come in if the main body of patriots is taken out in Congress and in the executive branch, as well as the judiciary. Be a perfect time to do it during an inauguration, during a State of the Union. But here's the problem. Here's a little telltale sign. And I've laid this out in detail. If you're a regular listener, you know I've covered this the last month ad nauseum. I said they'll start hammering he's a Russian spy. I said this before the election. They'll announce they've got to federalize the election, even after the election, because Obama's still in for 2 months. Then they start to say the president's illegitimate. They start to say he's really a Russian agent. They start to say we need a civil emergency, a national emergency. Then you'll start hearing people are going to boycott the inauguration. Then you hear if he's killed at the inauguration, or if he's indicted days before or the day of the inauguration, It's okay because COG will step in. The president will appoint a new president. Obama won't stay on. He'll appoint a new president. And then Homeland Security, with their people in that they've put in, Loretta Lynch and others, or the stay-behind folks they've put in, they will then hold the new free, fair election like they have in South Africa or Venezuela or, Cuba. And that's the rest of the story. And now they have said everything I said they would say and do if they were planning a coup d'etat against the peaceful transfer of power. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that they're going to do this. Clearly, bare minimum, it's about delegitimizing Trump ahead of an impeachment, which they're also beating the drum for. But that's kind of like the field goal they're going for, okay? If they can't get the touchdown, they just want a field goal. The field goal is building up the discrediting, sabotage the agenda of getting the economy going to undermine Trump, because it's not about the economy, it's about power. Because if you control things, it doesn't matter, you get the money anyways. D.C. is the richest city in the world now. And the people here from the establishment have literally been hissing at me like vampires when you open up their crypts. Happened last night. I'm still debating whether I should tell the story. But a prominent member of the media, a media owner, a media mogul, literally disdainfully hissed at me from a very arrogant, evil position. And again, I realize evil people, it's like a power trip. They're on an arrogance trip. And they're so arrogant, they're like mentally ill. I mean, you should have seen this guy just sit back and just go, like he hated my guts. Because I guess to him, I'm like a monster, like Frankenstein just came walking in. And I've been running into him on the street, man. These lobbyists and people see me and they go and just pull back in horror. Now, I've run into some patriot lobbyists, and of course, they're big listeners and big fans, but the vast majority of them, Republican and Democrat, who think they own this country, think they run this world, they are so mad the American people might try to come in and take their country back. They are so incredibly upset. So we've heard the buildup for impeachment. We've heard the buildup for civil emergency, national emergency. We've seen the push saying, he's really a Russian agent. With Maxine Waters and everybody coming out saying Putin directly tells him what to say and came up with the term crooked Hillary and drain the swamp. Because, again, none of us could say draining a big corrupt body. That's what you say about a corrupt city council. You need to drain the swamp. Or you've got a corrupt corporate board. It's called draining the swamp. I mean, this is like a cleaning house, spring cleaning. It'd be like if Trump said, we need spring cleaning. Oh, you got that from the Russians, did you? You're like if I said, boy, that's another kettle of fish. Oh, that's a fancy term. To get that from Putin? Yeah. Putin's a thesaurus. He's like an encyclopedia. It's like I don't go to the encyclopedia and pull out the book and look something up. I just go, Putin. I call him up and I say, I know you're not busy, the president of Russia. What do I say today? And he goes, comrade, you will say this today. But he gets his phone. He goes, listen to me. This is what you need to do. You need to tell Trump, 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 you need to go on air and you need to tell them. You need to tell them that she is crooked. I'm going to skip this break. But we make jokes about this. We laugh about this. We say this is silly. It's not silly because they're so delusional and so disconnected from reality. I didn't sound like Putin, did I? I sounded like Cookie Monster. I don't really do a good Russian accent. I can do other really good accents. You know, the globalists are like Cookie Monster, except they're eating the Constitution and the prosperity. They're like, free country. Nom, 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 nom. I mean, we could, again, make jokes about this all day, but my 8-year-old daughter still likes it when I do Cookie Monster. But let me get serious. We're here talking about nukes going off and COG. Let me give you the big, giant announcement. Let me give you the huge announcement here. And I'm going to play this clip from CNN and come back and get into it more. If a dirty bomb goes off or a truck bomb full of plastic explosive or nerve gas, if ISIS got in and fires a mortar of nerve gas into the crowd, you better know 110%. The Democratic Party, the globalists, the Soros crowd are where you go looking. 110%. If that happens, we need to understand who had the motive, who had the means, who had the history, who prepared the ground, and who called for it. It'll be a false flag. They will blame it on some foreign enemy, or they'll claim it's some right-wing group. It doesn't even have to make sense, because they think they've got the corporate media behind them, and they'll just go with the big lie and get everybody to buy into the hype. It's not going to happen. And because of that, they may back off. They may not pull something tomorrow. In fact, I think it's probably a 70% chance they're not going to pull anything tomorrow. But still, they're hyping it and pushing it and hoping it happens, and hoping some deranged lunatic shows up with a truck bomb or with a gun. Because then they can demonize the Second Amendment and say, oh, look, Trump's for the Second Amendment, but his inauguration got marred by gunshots. You know, there's a threat continuum. On the lower end, it's just riots and people burning things. And then you move on up, it's a shooting. And then it's a mass shooting. And then it's a car bomb going off a mile from the inauguration. Or it's a car bomb going off 500 yards from the inauguration. Or it's one driving through and blowing up and killing Trump and a bunch of the government. And then COG activates. Or it gets worse. A tactical nuke goes off a half mile, killing the president and everybody in the surrounding area. Or maybe the globalists go big and just a 50 megaton detonates, and they claim the Russians had it buried under their embassy since 1969. The word is they did smuggle one in. The word is there is one under there. I mean, who knows? If you don't think the United States has to smuggle weapons into Russia, I mean, the Cold War was very serious. But this is what's ongoing, ladies and gentlemen. And meanwhile, we have these foreign multinationals admitting at Davos, we have, in fact, let's cue that clip up later in the show if we can find that. I forgot to tell the crew, so it's no fault of theirs. We have Biden at Davos saying globalism is collapsing, that their whole world order is in great crisis because of nationalism and populism. Oh, how horrible. Thought it didn't exist. I thought globalism doesn't exist, New York Times. And then we've also got the Chinese Communist president there promising to prop up world government. And we've got them all lecturing us on democracy. Yes, the Communist Chinese president and Joe Biden about how the democratic world order is in crisis, and it's the fault of nationalist movements. You mean we elect a movement to have Brexit? You mean we elect Trump and elect a record number of people to the houses in the states, the legislatures? Oh, you mean that's undemocratic? I forgot. But the communist Chinese, they're not a problem, right? Again, people hear Biden going, this is undemocratic. What are you talking about? Well, now they're saying, in fact, what did Biden call it? He called him the semi-president-elect. See, now they're already getting the idea, because if they came right out and said he should be removed, he isn't president, at first you go, how dare you challenge an election? You say we never should do that. Now it's like, oh, he's semi-president-elect. We're not sure. Well, what if he gets killed? Well, what if he's a Russian agent? Well, we do need to impeach him, because Putin talks right in his ear. If a weapon goes off, if there is an attack, the motive, the means, the history, the preparation is directly on the globalists. And if they think they're going to get away with it, and they think they're going to have some COG and announce that they've got a new provisional government in place, I'm sad you're going to do that, because the stock market will probably crash. It'll be a bunch of other bad stuff. It'll be very destabilizing. But you know what? I'd give your coup about 24 hours. And about 24 hours into that, who do you think provides you your security? 100% absolute quantifiable fact that within 24 hours, a chain reaction would be set off. And it would be goodbye, Bluebird. Bye-bye. So you think you're going to do this. You think you're going to run and poison people with polonium and pull all this crap against a bunch of Americans that just want prosperity and just want sovereignty and just want to be a prosperous nation. We don't want to be cuckolded. We don't want to be dominated. We don't want to be shut down. We don't want to be ripped off anymore. And it doesn't mean Trump is perfect, but he's not out to get us. He's a good guy who wants prosperity and wants what made America great again. But under globalism, America isn't supposed to be great. We're supposed to be managed and controlled and have policies in place where we can't even compete. That'll teach those Americans. That's what the multinationals have done. And it's over. Because even if you kill me or Trump or Matt Drudge or Ron Paul or Senator Paul or whoever you think you're going to go after, let me explain something. Ideas are what are bulletproof. Victor Hugo, no army can stop an idea whose time has come. No army can stop an idea whose time has come. No army. So it got paraphrased in V for Vendetta. Ideas are bulletproof. And we have an idea 1,000 times better, 1,000,000 times better. I mean, freedom, open societies, free association, true wealth, true empowerment. Men being men, women being women. Notice they assault what makes us strong. No, if you want to be something else, hell, you want to be a dog, that's great. I'm not paying for your sex change. I'm not paying for you to think you're a dog. You understand? But see, it's being imposed by the globalist-run media to make us weak because men and women together with families and building and being strong and women challenging their men and men challenging their women and culture being strong and admiring that is what makes us excel. And America was the model of that rugged individualism. They're attacking our strengths. It's declassified. It's in the WikiLeaks. I knew 20 years ago because it was in textbooks because they bragged about it, but it was declassified 2 years ago. But for decades, the CIA put out ugly art and ugly literature and then gave it awards to say it was beautiful, to twist people's minds and to denigrate things that everyone universally knew were more beautiful and regal. And then now what they do with MTV and all of it is to wreck brains. This is military technology being used against people. People go, oh, I thought the military's good. And now you're saying military technology. See, the military and military technology are two different things. Globalists weaponizing the food, the water, the culture is at all of us. They hate the troops more than us because they've been allowed to be men to a limited aspect to be used by the power elite who disdain them and hate them. And then now that they're done with them and the age of the robots is rising, they plan to get rid of them and phase them out. So if a nuke goes off or a truck bomb goes off or there's a mass shooting or chlorine gas is released, you know who did it. Just like if the city gets caught on fire. It's admittedly funded by Soros and other Clinton-connected groups and refused fascism, saying they're going to stop Trump being elected. Trump-Pence regime, stop it before it starts. Bring D.C. to a halt. Take to the streets. Every night, every day, growing in numbers. In the meanwhile, they're financed by the big foreign banker, Nazi collaborator. I'd say take the streets and take it back if they declare COG and Obama installs some new person. I'll be in the streets, and I bet the cops will be with me. No, we sat here and watched people elect Obama because we knew that who that he was running against were shills, so it didn't matter. With Trump, they're crapping their britches because it's real. I'm going to go to break here in a few minutes, and I'm going to come back with the clip I've been mentioning, the full clip. And let me play the shorter clip now, just a 30-second clip. CNN. It's up on Infowars.com. It's the top story on DrudgeReport.com. At least it was 30 minutes ago. We can punch that up on screen for folks up there on the top left-hand corner of Drudge. And the headline is, let me pull it up here. CNN is reporting that Obama will appoint the next president if Trump is killed. If Trump is killed during inauguration, Obama appointee would be president, and they're licking their chops talking about this and saying he shouldn't be president. And I'm going to say it again. A bunch of Democrats aren't showing up. What's the number now, dude? It was 50-something this morning. Oh, it's 60 now. Oh, first it's 5. And I said this a few weeks ago. First it's 5. Then it's 20. Then it's 30. Then it's 50. Then it's 60. Then it's 100. Then it's 200. And if you see Republicans, word is, I guess McCain's saying he may not show up. Oh, and John Kerry, and oh, the Bushes. Herbert Walker said he didn't want to be 6 feet under. He said, I'd be 6 feet under if I came to that. Was that cryptic from the old crypt keeper? Or was it just an old former head of the CIA being a friendly old, jolly old saint, jolly old elf? How many is it now, dude? 60 and counting. It was 50 what at the hotel an hour ago, Buckley. 60 Democrats and counting are not attending the Trump inauguration. Yeah, a nuke goes off, you're all prime suspects. We're going to come back and play the long clip, the short clip. We've got the Soros busting people in. We caught that on video last night. It's all on Infowars.com, and DrudgeReport.com has amazing coverage as well. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here with the inauguration special. We've had some of the biggest sales in our history since Christmas into the new year. I'm extending them as the inauguration specials right through this weekend, and then it's over. We have some new products coming out next week, some other sales we're going to be doing, but many of these sales are going to have to come to an end. If you want across the board massive specials on hundreds and hundreds of items like Brain Force, 30% off, and there's 20% more in each bottle. Supernova Vitality, 30% off. Survival Shield X2, 30% off. Here's the bottom line. These are great products that have changed my life and changed so many other people's lives. Also, it funds the operation. This sale ends this weekend after the inauguration of Donald J. Trump as the 45th president. InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Get great products, help fund the InfoWar, and celebrate the election of a populist, a champion against the New World Order. I'm Alex Jones, and this is the InfoWar.